Hi, I'm going to take you on a virtual tour of Northeastern's performance spaces. While we're sharing this course together in virtual space, hopefully these photographs taken from renovations, production photos, and some pictures of the spaces empty will give you a good sense of our real facilities. Our main space is the Studio Theater, which is in the passageway between L Hall and Curry Student Center. This is a ground plan of the studio. A ground plan is our term for the bird's eye view drawing of the space. You can see here the most common seating arrangement, though later I'll show you some photos of the space being used differently. But in this arrangement we have the audience here on the right and the stage area here on the left. This kind of theater arrangement is known as a proscenium theater. The archway that holds a big red curtain which frames the action in a traditional big theater, that's called a proscenium arch, which is a Latin word, but it comes from the Greek proskena, meaning before the scenery. The fact that there's no actual arch in our studio theater, that doesn't change the essential fact that the audience is on one side of the space and the stage is on the other. For that reason, it's often also called end staging. So what are the possibilities and challenges of this space? First, these are columns that run through the space on both sides of the theater, and in fact they run straight through Curry Student Center. They hold up the building so we can't remove them. And every show needs to consider what to do with them, whether to mask them with curtains, to include them, to accentuate them. Memorably, one show added several extra columns, and then one of them opened up to reveal a dead character. I'll show you a few other views to give you a sense of the room. First, from this corner, looking back this way. This picture's from a moment when the floor was actually getting redone, and we got to see the space without those audience risers that you saw on the ground plan. In the distance, you see this large garage door that opens up onto our scene shop where all our sets get built. Occasionally, directors like me will use this space in such a way that the door stays open during the show, and we actually perform some of the show on the other side of that wall in the scene shop. Here are a few more views of the space, a little cleaner. You can see the garage door in all its glory. You can see the columns here. And this picture is here so you can see the concrete block walls, which are painted black and which surround the space. On some level, this theater is a bunker. Here's a reverse view, again with the risers removed. You can see up above the booth where the stage manager sits with the light board and soundboard operators during a show. You can also see here the main entrance to the theater. The lit up wall from the first photo, that's on the other side of this wall. Part of my goal in showing you these pictures is to show you the space when it's ugly, when it's plain and bare. Theaters with no show in them, they don't look very nice. There's no magic. So I wish we were together on campus right now for you to take the next step, which is to see this room transformed. But I'll show you some pictures for now, and then you'll have to promise me that when you come back to campus, you can see these shows in the theater when you have a chance. One last look at this room is a view from a set model. This is a set from Chekhov's Three Sisters. I give you this view to help you conceptualize the space a little bit more clearly and its challenges. But to give you the full picture, I've added this other drawing, which is a light plot. The light plot is the lighting designer's drawing. It's superimposed upon the set designer's ground plan, in this case for my production of Thornton Wilder's The Skin of Our Teeth. You can see the set right here. I show you that because you can't see a big detail in this model, which is that directly above the set, about 20 feet off the stage floor, is a fixed grid of pipes for hanging lights and speakers and other things that we might need to drop in during the show. So now looking at these together, we can really think about the challenges of this space. In addition to the columns, there's no wing space. There's no space off stage for us to slide one set off and another set on. There's no fly space. A perfect theater would have this grid much higher, with lots of space for flying scenery in and out, but we can't effectively hide scenery up in the grid. We can put it up there on the grid and the audience sees it, but it can't fly away out of sight. There are doors into the hallway, upstage and downstage, and doors into the scene shop, which are here. But ideally, those kinds of access points would be hidden from the audience, and these are easy to see unless the set designer does something about it. And that's a fact of life in our space. Unless we specifically address them with the set for a specific show, audiences are going to see the lights, they're going to see the columns, they'll see actors entering and exiting from the doors in the room. We can build a surround like this set did, here, to cross to create crossovers for the actors, but the room is not set up for it. And so most shows in our theater, because of the setup, use what's called a unit set. One big idea that gets used in several different ways to represent different locations, as opposed to a series of different sets. We can, and we do, build beautiful, rich environments that completely transform the space. So in these photos, you can see a series of different uses, from highly traditional proscenium setups, like this one for Blithe Spirit, to shows like Everyman, that put the audience on the floor and transformed the space into a club. This is the audience down here. Skin of Our Teeth was a proscenium set that defied our norm and actually had different sets for each of the 3 acts. There's a center platform here that remains, right here, but the side platforms and decoration transform it from the house in Act 1 and Act 3 to this, what you see here, the Jersey Shore Boardwalk. Here you see another view of Everyman, now with the cast on stage in the space. The House of Bernarda Alba, with an actor actually up on the risers, where big important scenes took place up on the risers next to some of the audience. And Urinetown, that was done as a thrust with audience on this side of the space and this side of the space, in addition to out in the risers. After Miss Julie and How I Learned to Drive were both done with proscenium setups. Here you can see the main house set from the Skin of Our Teeth, a highly presentational version of a house, but a traditional proscenium set nonetheless. The chairs and the rug are on top of a trap door that's used in Act 3, and that highlights one of the most common features of our shows. Some kind of platform we build that elevates the actors up off the floor. A great example is Mary Stuart, which was performed in the round, with a big platform for the actors with audience all around on all 4 sides, and a matching platform up in the air as a kind of a roof. 3 more things for us to see before we head across campus. First, the scene shop. This is where our sets are all built. Matthew Williams, our amazing technical director, makes incredible use of this really narrow space. When a show is running in the theater, he's building and storing the next set right here, and when that first show finishes, he loads this one straight in through the garage door. When you go out this way and up the hall, you make it to this dressing room. Our dressing rooms are quite nice. They're spacious enough for our biggest cast shows. This is the cast of 3 Sisters, and when you make your way down the hall from here, down through some doors and down some stairs, you make it to the costume shop. Here, our costume shop supervisor, Margaret Kerber, deals with all of the costumes for all of our shows. She keeps a great stock of items for potential reuse, like these shoes you're seeing over here, and several other closets full of our old costume stock. It's here that our costumes are built or altered, fitted and repaired. And now this is the moment where I have to say to you, if you have any chance to at all during your time at Northeastern, the best advice I can give you is to find a way to work here in the costume shop or in the scene shop. They're tremendous learning opportunities, and you don't need to know anything except how to listen and be a good team player. I swear, being lucky enough to work in the scene shop as an undergraduate is where I really first started to understand how theater comes together, and not coincidentally, it led to my first paying work in the theater. You will never walk across campus this fast in your life, but thank goodness, because I just have a couple minutes left to show you our other space across campus in Ryder Hall, 1 floor downstairs from our offices. This is the Ryder Theater Lab, and it was just redone in the last few years. These are some of the architectural drawings from the renovation, both outside the theater lab and inside. These pictures actually give a really great sense of what this space looks like. It is a combination between 2 old classrooms, and now because we've been there for a few years, I can show you a couple of actual photos. But first, a ground plan. So there used to be a wall right here that divided a classroom here and another classroom there. In fact, here on the other side of this closet, that's our other main acting classroom, 372. And that, which you can see right here, and this room, and the studio theater all have columns in them. It's just a fact of life. If you're doing theater work at Northeastern, you're learning to live with some columns. There is a dressing room right over here, and a couple of different entrances to this room, but this is a blank, simple lab. You can see a fixed grade here like the one in the studio, but this one's closer to 10 or 11 feet high. As you can see though, the lower ceiling in no way prevents us from doing great lighting in this space. This room has a fully functional light board and a sound system, a projector, lots of room to play with. We hold movement classes and acting classes here. We have rehearsals, such as the one you're seeing me hold right here for a production for the Boston Theater Marathon in 2019. And of course, we do productions in this space with more limited set builds. So these are two pictures from the complete works of William Shakespeare Abridged. And then finally, Nora, which is an adaptation of A Doll's House that actually played in back-to-back weeks with After Miss Julie, a show you saw on the photo across campus in the studio theater. And those are our spaces. Thanks for coming on our tour. We can't wait to have you in our spaces in person.